into Stu's hands. I'm Stu from ModdedGossip. You know me from that thing that I do on the internet with Ali. Well, this is going to be a slightly different video. The last one I did was a POG video, and that seemed to go down pretty well. But I'm going to be going through 10 of the games that shaped me as a child to make me an angry teenager or an annoying delinquent. But I'm going to go through the 10 games that made me. They're not particularly good. Well, some of them are, some of them aren't. But they're the ones that I played a lot to kind of make. It shaped me shaped me in my early years and made me the man I am today. Now, excuse the Fallout merchandise here, which is the awesome bobblehead. It really bobbles. And these things, if you didn't know, Fallout 76 has just been announced, and I'm really excited, and I want to put that in the video. So if you don't like it, I'm really sorry. Just watch from this part downwards. I'm going to go on to the first one, which is a very, very harsh game, because God rest this man's soul. Dave Mirra. Now, he died 2016 sometime, but he did know how to put his input into great games. Whether he actually did put any input into this game is something else. But however, this game how can I say this? When I was a child, extreme sports games seemed to be the in thing. They had there was Tony Hawk's going around, and then there was Andy McDonald's MTV Skateboarding, I think it was, and then there was I can't remember them off the top of my head. There was loads of them. Then Matt Hoffman BMX came out, but originally there was Dave Mirra. Now, the reason why Dave Mirra to me makes the cut is it was the ragdoll physics that I could have so much fun just playing this over and over and over again. And then when I got bored of the levels, it didn't matter, because every time that you bailed, every time that you fell, it was ragdoll, and there was a button that you could press that would hold on to the edges of rails, and physics games really interest me, and that was a physics game that really had me going, and I would go through it all the time, over and over again. Didn't matter. It also had Social Distortion on there, which is one of my all-time favourite bands. You should definitely check that out. I'm not going to play any of it because copyright. Oh, and Deftones. I see Deftones on there. I don't remember Deftones on there, but yeah, they were good. But that was definitely a game that shaped me as a child. It made me want to get a bike. It made me want to pick up a BMX, which I did. I got a Harrow BMX, I think it was, because it doesn't. I'm pretty sure he had something to do with Harrow. But anyway, I got one of them, and it was really cool. And then I ended up using it for about a week, and then it sat in my parents' driveway for forever, and it's just rusted away, which is it's a real shame, but it was really cool. But I don't know how many levels. I'm not here to talk about what the game was, but you should look this up on Google, or if you ever find this at a car boot sale or a show, you should pick it up for some simple-minded BMX TV mayhem. Let's get rid of that. When I was a kid, there was we went to Toys R Us, God rest that soul as well, and the big thing was N64 or PS1. They had two different things two different units that were on display. And you could go and play the N64, and it had things like Super Mario and Zelda or whatever was on there. But for me, I was instantly drawn to the PlayStation from a game that I'd never heard of, and it ended up being probably one of my most favourite games of all time. And it's that. But it was cute, it was cool. The King Gobbo got stolen, and you were a crocodile that was friendly that had to save all the Gobbos, and it was just simple-minded. I've said simple-minded. This is going to be the last time I say simple-minded, right, in this. But it was just fun. It was just pure, captivating fun. And I heard from someone else. I can't remember who I heard it from. I think it was Tom from Video Game Basement. He said that this was planned to be a Yoshi game, and it was canned, and then either Sony or Fox bought the rights to it and brought it to the PlayStation. It's just genius. It's just one of those great games that it's just cute. Even the soundtrack is just. I had the soundtrack as an alarm for ages, and it's the only alarm tone that I haven't got annoyed with. Next one. This one's super violent, and I bought this in Woolworths when that was still around. It's a Platinum game. Platinum games, if you don't know what Platinum games are, you probably shouldn't be watching this video, but Platinum games where if they've reached a certain amount of sales, they reach this sort of Platinum stage, like the classics of all the newer titles, and when the newer ones came out, there was like the PlayStation Classics, and then PS2 had, I think the PS2 was Classics, PS3 was like the must plays or whatever, and they come in like red cases. But PS1 had Platinums, and this game was super violent, and I lived on it for ages, and that's Loaded. Now, if you don't know what Loaded is, for me, it was the granddaddy of top-down shooters. It was, you controlled these people, which I don't remember. I know him, oh, what was his name? Do you know what? It would probably say on the back. Oh, Mama, Bouncer, Butch, Fwank, that was it. Cap and Hands and Vox. And all you did was top-down, you just run around blasting people, but I remember the violence was just super over the top. It was, let's see if we can zoom in on any of those screenshots. But me and my brother used to play this for hours and hours, and he was a great co-op partner. And this tells you here, when you've got the rating systems, you know, this was a 15, like, according to the ELSPA rating system. But it was super violent. Like, you had insides like squirted on the walls, and oh man, it was great. And this is my original copy. Like, all of these so far have been my original copies that I've had. There's some of these ones that I'm gonna like pull out in a minute. I had to go and rebuy because I don't know where they went. But yeah, Loaded was a great game. It's sort of Smash TV-esque, but not all on one screen. It was more, you know, you had levels to go through, like Alien Breed on the 360 if you've played that, but like a really old quality title. They also made a sequel called Reloaded, which isn't worth your time, right? It was a cheap sequel. You'll find that on the PlayStation Store as well, Reloaded, but you won't find Loaded, which is a shame. Featuring music from Pop Will Eat Itself as well, but that's definitely a game to check out. But I think that's where I got most of my aggression from. Next on the list, everyone's played this game. I guarantee you everyone plays and loved this game, and it's Die Hard Trilogy. What more can be said? This was 3 games, and it was based on the films. You had the first one, which was like a third-person shooty gun. Had to clear all the enemies and save hostages if it was there, like if they were there. Then there was a bomb, and you had to get to the bomb, and then you had to get to the lift to go to the next level, and you keep going and going and going and going until you get to the top level and finish it. This was actually the first game I ever finished in 2016 for no reason. Everyone was all playing the current titles at the time, and then as New Year went on 2016, I was like, do you know what, I'm going to finish this tonight, and I did. But yeah, and the second game, so you had Die Hard, then Die Harder, and then Die Hard with a Vengeance. Die Hard was the third-person one. Die Hard 2 was a light gun game, and as you know, I'm a massive fan of light guns. Like, light gun games are my jam. I'm planning on doing a light gun documentary in the future at some point, but I don't know how to do documentaries, but I will learn. It will come out, it will be on ModdedGossip, and it will be cool. And you'll probably see me and Ali play loads of light gun games around the country, which should be good. But that was Die Hard 2, and Die Hard 3 was a driving one. I didn't play that one too much. I didn't really understand it that much, but I remember my brother playing it a lot, and he got through the campaign. I remember walking in after I got a drink, and he was on the last level, and he had to drive up a ramp, and it shot him in the air, and you had to hit Hans Gruber's... No, not Hans Gruber. The name escapes me, but it was a Gruber. He had to hit his helicopter out of the sky. And then that was the end of the game, and it was like, what the hell? But yeah, this was definitely one that everyone should play. The next one, back on the bandwagon of light gun games, Time Crisis. I was amazed by this at the arcades. My dad used to take me down there, and when this came out, it came bundled with the G-Con 45. It was magical, and I remember me and my dad, when that came out, every single day, we would go down to the local Ritz Video, I think it was, because it was Blockbuster after that, and then now, God rest its soul, that's gone too. But Ritz Video, we would go down there right when it opened. Has anyone returned Time Crisis? No. Damn. Next day, and then one day we got it, and my dad kept going back, and he kept re-renting it. Oh, it must have been, I don't know, 4 or 5 times he re-rented it, and in the end, he was just like, do you know what, I'm just going to buy this game. I'm just going to buy this whole set for you. And he bought it, and that's why I have a G-Con 45. And this copy is not my original, unfortunately. I had to buy this recently. I don't know where my original went. I do have a pile of games somewhere that I just don't know where they are. Things like Bust a Move was in it, and Road Rash. And I had all those games. I had Wild Arms. Guardians Crusade, I think I've got in there. There was loads of games. I just lost them. So sorry, mate. I lost them, so I had to rebuy this one. But I still know where the G-Con 45 is. Brilliant game. Oh, for home consoles, I know everyone says like Duck Hunt, and there was that Chiller game in the arcades when that came in Maine. You know, these are all like iconic light gun games. It was this and Point Blank for me. Point Blank was fantastic. I do have Point Blank, but I didn't really want to put 2 Namco shooters in here. But Time Crisis was definitely, it was just amazing. Next game is a game that I bought from Blockbuster. It was really cheap, like obscenely cheap. It was like £4 because it was one of those Ubisoft exclusive games. Oh, I'm so sorry. One of those Ubisoft exclusive games, and it's now turned out to be worth a lot of money. So that's all I really need to say. Grandia, I played it a little bit, but I remember buying this and Dune, not DOOM, DUNE, which was like a real-time strategy, sort of in the vein of Command & Conquer. But this one, I bought at the same time, and I played it, I loved it. It sort of had the art style of Klonoa, which was another game I've lost somewhere, which is really pissing me off. It was that sort of art style, and I really kind of got on with it, but at the time I haven't really kind of got that appreciation of RPGs until my later years. So this was one that I kind of started, didn't really do too much on, and then went back to it, forgot, started again. But this is definitely a game that the beginning, should we say like 4 hours, is something that kind of sticks with me. The rest of it I never got through, and as soon as I saw this case back when I got my old games out, I sat there and was like, this is literally going to be the first RPG I sit back down to. Now, I've done the first 4 hours repeatedly, and then I'd get bored, new games would come out, and I would lose the plot, and I'd be like, no, do you know what, I need to start again. So I've done the first 4 hours probably 4 or 5 times, and I loved it, but it's now time for me to finish this. So Grandia on the PS1, it's lovely. It was lovely. This next game, me and my mate, I had a mate, Andy, I'm not going to say his surname for obvious reasons. Whenever we used to finish school, we either used to go back round his, us and a few mates, or he used to come round mine, and we used to just play PlayStation 1 solidly. Absolutely solidly. It was Micro Machines V3, which isn't in this list for a good reason, which I'll go to in a second. But it was that, and Destruction Derby. Now, Destruction Derby 2, this one is, because that's the only one that I had, right? You'll notice the missing cover, the missing sleeve, and broken box. But we used to play Destruction Derby 1, and I thought this was a good link to it. We used to sit there with that, take turns in the arena mode. There was like I can't remember what it was called, the Destruction Bowl or the Derby Bowl, and it would be like 10, 12 cars, and they would all be around the outside of this bowl. And then it would be 3, 2, 1, go, and you'd all hammer it in, and you'd try and be the last man standing. And we would just take turns over and over again. We're talking 4-hour stints, 6-hour stints. Then we'd go home really late because me and him used to live really close. Then next day we would carry on. We wore out the disc like twice, I think it was. He had to keep going and buying it, or his mum did. And it was a great game. It was pure destruction. And for kids of our age, the graphics on this were astounding. Now, I've played this on an emulator recently, which was Ken's emulator, but more specifically the second one, and the graphics are phenomenal, and the gameplay is phenomenal. And I just wish that when me and Andy were playing this, that we had number 2, because Destruction Derby 1 was a big part of our lives, and this would have been fantastic to move on to. But I think that's why, well, especially Andy, he was aggressive, but in a nice way. He'd be so calm, so complacent, so chilled, and then as soon as you brought Destruction Derby out, he turned into an animal, an absolute animal, and I think we all did. Whenever we had the competitive side, like Micro Machines, friendships would be ruined, just like Mario Kart was for a few people. That's exactly what it was like. But Destruction Derby was definitely up there for friendship killers. But it was fantastic. The next one was a great game. I used to know a kid called Graham. I don't know if he's still about. I kind of lost touch with him quite, well, I wouldn't say recently, but quite a long time ago. And he put me onto Cool Borders. Now, the Cool Borders 3 was... I don't usually like snowboarding games. I really don't. You know, because I just think it's kind of like, well, it's the same sort of thing over and over again. But Cool Borders, I could just go from the top of the course right down to the bottom and keep going on different sections of the course, and I could keep playing it. And I don't know what it was about Cool Borders. I don't know if it was the soundtrack. I don't know if it was the events. But like SSX, I never really got into. That steep game that's, well, I say just come out, that's been out for a while, I never got into. Snowboarding's never really been a thing for me, but Cool Borders just has it. It was just even looking at the back of the box, it's just, oh, so good. But yeah, there's another game that me and Andy used to play, not as much. He wasn't into snowboarding at all, but obviously when I got Cool Borders, whenever we got new games, we used to go around each other's house, like with the Resident Evils. Andy was a big Resident Evil fan, and I haven't got any Resident Evils in here because I don't own any on PlayStation 1, which is a real unfortunate turn of events. But he used to get it, and he used to be like, yeah, I'm not coming into school, and be like, why not? Oh, Resident Evil 3 just came out. Right, well, I'm coming around Jules then, and that would be it. I'd obviously go to school. He was allowed to stay at home because he had really cool parents at the time, you know. But then I would go to school, and then as soon as it was finished, I'd go to his. We'd play Resident Evil. When he finished it, he'd lend it to me. And it, just marvellous. Absolute marvellous times. But Cool Borders was another one that me and him used to sit there and play head to head. We used to hold the shoulder button, so you had to like charge up your spin and then see if you could pull a 1080. Then you would bail, and then we would inevitably move back to Destruction Derby or Micro Machines. That was my childhood. But Cool Borders 3, lovely game. You should pick it up if you can find it. This one was a game I think I got with my PlayStation, and I think it went over like loads of people's radars. That and G-Police. G-Police was fantastic. And Future Cop LAPD, which was another game I had and I've lost, and I don't know why, so I will find Future Cop LAPD and it will be in my possession again. This game, Tunnel B1. Now this cover is fantastic alone, because I don't understand the reference. The relevance of this cover to what the game is like. In here it goes, you tear through rock and steel, your only hope, for between enemy and victory lies a devastating weapon, and between you and the enemy lies Tunnel B1. So, this might be the pilot, this might be an enemy, but anyway, you were in this kind of machine and you had two guns that were at the top. So if you imagine this, what you're watching here is the viewpoint. You would have two guns like, oh no, I can't reach. You would have two guns like here, and you would just be beasting things, but your machine that you were in was so fast and so nippy, it was just really good. And you got like weapon upgrades, and you speed upgrades, power-ups and things, and it was just a really simple game. Really good, but I got it with my PlayStation, and that is a game that I've just played over and over and over again. I think it was because this was in the early life of my PlayStation. Like, I didn't have many games, so it's not like now where you can go onto Steam and you can be like, yeah, I'll just have that, I'll buy that, it's on offer. If you got a game, you had to play it, rinse it, because as a child you couldn't afford any more games. It wasn't until like maybe a birthday, or maybe you saved up your pocket money and then went to the local Blockbuster or the local shops, so then you could afford another one, so you had to keep rinsing games, and Tunnel B1 was one that I rinsed a lot. I will be going through this in the future. It's not going to be on the channel because I've done that whole game streaming thing before. It might happen later on, but until I want to play these games to experience them again, and this is definitely one that I want to experience from the beginning right through. Headphones on, all loud, all power, all coolness. But yeah, Tunnel B1, great. The reason why I didn't include Micro Machines in this video is because there was a contender. And the contender in this video... Sorry, I just need to move the camera. It's kind of... The contender in this video is strange, because it was identical to Micro Machines, but it was just a lot more fun. Now, it's all really, really good, driving across, you know, pool tables and, you know, gardens and things, but it didn't really feed the hunger that some people had. So, you know, people didn't want to drive miniature cars, and people didn't want to do like boats. They wanted like full 3D engines, which Micro Machines V3 did provide, but not to sort of realistic state. This one had weather in it, this one that I'm about to bring on. But I loved it, and instead of me looking at the box off camera, I'm going to bring it on camera. And it was circuit breakers. I'm sorry about this massive sticker, but I don't take these stickers off. I just can't. It was the same sort of concept, as Micro Machines. You had 4 cars, it was 4 players with a multi-tap. You just chose your cars and you drove, and really good tracks, really well-made game, really good party game. I remember, it must have been, I don't know, 2 or 3 years after Micro Machines came out that I decided to get this back out. And there was me and 3 other people, and we were rinsing it, and it was great, and it was some of the best fun I've had in a long time as a multiplayer game. And that's what games nowadays don't really provide, in my opinion. I know that's a really controversial thing to say, but you know, there's all multiplayer, but all multiplayer has to be online, or it's all, you know, you have to have a disc per console. And I know it's easier that you can, you know, play games with your friends whilst sitting in the comfort of your own home, but there's just nothing like sitting next to someone, and if you're getting beaten, you dig them in the arm, or you punch them in the face, or you like rip the controller out of the hand and throw it across the room, and then so you could get that advantage. And you just can't do that with Xbox Live or PlayStation Network or Steam. You can't have that party atmosphere, and this is something that Micro Machines and Circuit Breakers did provide. These were games that were fantastic. They were great to sit down to, great to kind of chill with, and they provided decent gameplay and decent happiness whilst playing them. You know, fun was the big thing for that. Multi-tap, vibration, beautiful. There's another thing I might add as well, that I'm not including Metal Gear Solid, even though I spent way more time than I needed to, because I thought that Metal Gear Solid was going to be a given that most people my age would have played through. So Metal Gear Solid, fantastic, but you know, that's an honourable mention. Another point of that is my copy of Metal Gear Solid was a chipped version, so it was copied because I'm a filthy pirate, and I can't help it. When I was a kid, I had a chipped PlayStation so I could play American games, but then I found out how to copy my own. And I'll tell you a story. I'll tell you a story about Metal Gear Solid, right? I had to go out and buy the retail version way after, right? Because I wanted to play it later on. But at the time when I had a chipped version, me and Andy, the guy that I was talking about before, he obviously had the real copy. There's a bit in Metal Gear Solid where it's just like, oh, you know, I can't remember her name. Ehrling, I think her name was. And she says something about, oh, you need to get someone's codec number, and she can't remember it. She's like, oh no, it's on the back of the box. Well, my box was a jewel case, a see-through jewel case with a photocopy of Metal Gear Solid on the front, and on the back was nothing. So I had to phone up on a landline phone, because we didn't have mobiles back then, and talk to Andy, my mate, and be like, your Metal Gear Solid box, I need that number on the back. Now that's a game where it breaks the fourth wall, and it will always stick in my head, just like Psycho Mantis in the old opposite controller, or changing the time with the sniper was, I think that was it. That was Metal Gear Solid 1, isn't it? When there's a sniper battle, and if you change the time, he was dead? I can't remember which one that was from. But it's all this fourth wall stuff that keeps you wanting to come back, and keeps wanting you to play these games, and it sticks in your head, because they were just genius. Absolute genius. I've left this next game till last, because this was my favourite game on the console, because it taught me so much. It taught me violence, it taught me the English language, and it just taught me to deal with all of the future titles that I would play, just because it was so gratuitous but so well made. And I'm really sorry that this is my original copy, but I've got a broken box. But I'm hoping that people will share my opinion. And that's Legacy of Kain, Blood Omen. This game was something special. This taught me so many new words, and the FMV sequences were fantastic. But when I say new words, like me as a 10-year-old, 11-year-old, or whenever, however it was, they taught me words like flay and things like, chagrin was a word that I never knew until I played this game. It was all in the narrative, and you had little cards. One of the abilities was called flay, and I didn't know what a flay was, or the word, what it meant, until I used it and realised that, so it's something to do with ripping the skin and blood off someone's body, or off someone's bones. And that's how I found out what flay was. I don't have the definition of it, but it taught me a lot as a child. My first experience with violence was in this game, because obviously we had things like Streets of Rage on the Mega Drive and Splatterhouse, which was all digital. But this was my first experience into FMV violence, and I think in the beginning sequence, someone is beheaded, and then you see the head go up on a spike in the FMV sequence, and it terrified me. It absolutely terrified me, and it was a true PS1 18 certificate. And that's why this will always have a special place in my heart, but unfortunately, I've broken the box. But this is my original copy. My brother got me this for Christmas one year. He hid it in, it was a chocolate box that said, it was like the letter S or something. And I opened it and I was like, this is awesome. Thanks, chocolate for Christmas. He was like, no, open it. And it was this. And secretly, I think it's because he wanted to play it. But I ended up playing it, and it's still got the same charm. It's still as good as when I first played it. I played it recently on an emulator really badly, but now I've got my new bad boy PS1 that's chipped and fancy. I'm going to be playing this one again because my normal PS1 that was also chipped, my original one, unfortunately the controller ports have died, and I'm upset about that, so I had to go and buy a new one, and I bought a new chipped one from a car boot sale, and it is actually chipped, so I can get back into all these old games. There's some honourable mentions that I would like to bring in. Let me get this one out of the way. But there are some honourable, Jesus Christ, mentions that I would like to bring in, and most of them are on the PlayStation 1 demo disc. And one of my honourable mentions is the Manta Ray, like FMV, when they were like, oh, look what this console can do. And it was just this Manta Ray going through the sea, and then you had like the T-Rex. Sorry, it's all dust everywhere from these games. The T-Rex that was running, and you could control it with different combinations. You could like move its head. Overboard was on that demo disc, which I later bought. I've recently bought Overboard. It's there, which cost me a bit of money, but it was fantastic. Bloody Roar was another one. A great fighting game. It was purely amazing. But the thing is, trying to find Bloody Roar now at its current price, it will have to be a good deal for me to buy it, because Bloody Roar is quite expensive. Command & Conquer Red Alert was on PS1 on that demo disc. These are all honourable mentions that I feel need to be in this video, because I did play that demo disc a hell of a lot. When I got the PlayStation, I had 4 games or 5 games with it. True Pinball, Rayman, Tunnel B1, something else. Oh, and Croc. Croc was one of my first games. And so the only other thing I had was that demo disc, and I lived on them. And then I used to get the PlayStation magazines, and then got more demo discs, and had a massive pile, and thinking, I was playing all these new games, but they're only one level. But I think honourable mentions in general should just be PlayStation 1 demo discs, because they always had fantastic content on there, and whether it's trailers, playable demos, it was just beautiful. Well done PlayStation magazines. But I'm going to end the video here, because that has been 10 games, plus some honourable mentions on the side. I will mention Video Game Basement for being a great channel, Jaws19 for being also a great channel, Gingerbeard Mark for being a great channel, and with us included on the end there, with my little tiny little pinky finger, we've created yawnhub.uk, which is basically a network or a website where you can go on there and you can get a solid stream of content from different YouTube creators, with no adverts, no nothing. You just go on there and you just press play, you just have a search, and there's more videos added all the time. But please, if you've been on Twitter, you'll notice that we've had a hashtag going up. like going around saying the hippo is coming. Well, now, I don't know, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but the hippo has came, or come, shall we say. Yeah, so yawnhub.uk, check it out. I've been Stu. This has been Modded Gossip. These are my Fallout pop vinyl things, whatever they're called. This is Super Mutant. This is my bobblehead, and this is me checking out. So, bye-bye, everybody. And my hands say bye-bye too. Bye! Yeah, that's it. Wobble your head. Go on, boy. Do it. Oh. We got a casualty. Bye.